Wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. A warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, all respected participants, and everyone who joining us online through Microsoft Teams and Facebook Live. Thank you for making time to join us this morning. And before we begin, allow me to briefly introduce myself. My name is Miss Liana Manso for short, a reference librarian from the General Tun Ibrahim Library, and I am your moderator for today's webinar session. So today's session is organized by the General Tun Ibrahim Library in collaboration with the Training and Kompetensi Unit Registrar's Office. And before we begin, let me briefly share what today's webinar will be covered. Today's session will be focused on the best practices of using modern citation databases for academic research. And throughout the webinar, we will learn how to stay updated with the latest developments in our research areas, how to find potential research collaborators and even rising stars in our fields, and how to showcase our own research more effectively. And we will also explore how to identify suitable journals to publish our work and how to check which funding agencies have supported research in our area of interest. On top of that, this session will demonstrate how the database is structured, how to conduct and refine searches, and most importantly, how to use these tools to enhance our academic discovery and research evaluation. So this webinar will be really useful, especially for our researchers, academics, and our students who want to strengthen their research strategy and visibility. Hence, today we invite Mr. Pavel Kasyanov. A little bit background about him. Mr. Pavel Kasyanov is a principal customer success consultant at Clarivate. Mr. Pavel works with Clarivate for 20 years and is an expert in bibliometric analysis. He worked on implementing the modern bibliometric approaches in evaluating science in Russia in 2009 until 2014 and worked directly with universities in Eastern Europe to help them increase their research performance, research visibility, and research impact globally between 2015 and 2021. Mr. Pavel also specializes on using Web of Science data for various custom analytical projects via APIs and works with Asian research organizations to implement modern approaches to integrate bibliometric data and research evaluation methodologies into their workflows. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Pavel to begin this session. Please welcome.
Thank you very much, Pandiana. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes, Mr. Pavel.
So yeah, thank you very much to everybody for joining today's session. Let me start by sharing my screen, and we will be able to start. So yeah, you've done a perfect introduction, so I don't need to say anything about myself anymore. So we can just delve into the PowerPoint right away. Maybe a few words about the structure of today's class. I do have some slides prepared for you that mostly are going to speak about what Web of Science is, what is the core idea of Web of Science, so why it is important to use it for for an academic researcher or for a librarian, for research administrator. I do have some slides about the use cases for Web of Science, just to show you what cool things you can do with Web of Science. But the most important part of today's session, and we're going to jump into that right after the slides, I'm going to show you the real life interface of Web of Science, and we'll try to, first of all, run some searches. I'll show you everything that we're going to run through the slides. We're also going to take a look at that in live interface. And then I hope that for the last half an hour of our session, if you would like to see how a specific workflow is implemented with Web of Science, if you're going to have any questions about how this search, how we can run it and what we can see for that search and which observations we can make, I'm happy to do that. So I would love to make this session very interactive for you. So while I'm going to be speaking, I would encourage you to, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat window. I might not be able to answer them right away, but I'll probably notice them popping up in my Teams window. But I promise to you that all the questions that you're going to ask via chat, I will be able to answer them at the end of the session. So yeah, let's start the slides. So what is the current state of journals and scholarly sources in the world? So what are the key challenges that we as academic researchers are facing? First of all, there's a lot of different sources where you can publish your research output. So probably just like me, you receive a lot of spam emails from various questionable publishers that invite you to publish in their journals, that promise you a very quick turnaround time, that promise to you that they're going to be indexed in the data sources like Web of Science. That they have things like impact factor, so they all fancy these buzzwords, but in the end of the day, it turns out that a lot of publishers that reach out to you through mailing campaigns and invite you to publish in their journals, some of them might not really be reputable. So there is a great question of this journal where I'm thinking about to publish my research results. Is it as reputable as, let's say, Nature? Or is it the first time I hear this name? And the reality is that there are a lot of reliable journals. And if we take a random sample of them, we definitely going to find some. But more and more, and you can see this on this graph right here, more and more in the recent years, there has been a problem of predatory journals, which are mostly open access type of journals. So we can talk about that as well today. Those are normally the journals, I mean the predatory journals, that can publish absolutely any rubbish as long as the author pays for them. And obviously, that means that they can completely remove or maybe simplify to simplest formalities the process of double-blind peer reviews. For example, make it not double-blind, make it not even a peer review of the scholarly articles that you're submitting to them. And in the end, this really degrades the quality of the scholarly content that these journals are publishing, and this really poses a huge problem for research integrity. So what we're doing in Web of Science, and this is one of the core ideas of Web of Science as a database of its design, its architecture, we're filtering the journals and conferences and books to make sure only the reliable ones are filtered to pass into the database itself. So we do have a set of 28 criteria for the journals. Those are things like following the international publishing standards, it's following their publishing time frames, and of course that's one of the key parts. It's a double-blind peer review that has to exist in the editorial of that of those journals. So in case the journal meets all of our criteria, we add it into the database and we make it available to you for searches. But if the journal seems to be a lower quality one, specifically if it's a predatory open access journal, we are 100% sure that we won't be indexing those journals. And more than that, we frequently reevaluate our existing journals that are indexed in the database. So once again, why this is important? That's important because we want to make a database for you, and we are making this database for you where you can just run your search and you can be sure that whatever search results you're finding there, they are reputable, you can trust them, and not just you can trust their content, but you can also trust the citation metrics, for example, for that. For those documents. So yeah, we are very, very selective. Just to give you an idea of the numbers, according to different estimations, there are approximately 50,000 to over 100,000 of journals, scientific journals in the world, or journals that pretend to be scholarly. We select only around 22,000 of those. So we were only really selecting the best, and we really care about the quality of the data there. We are independent from any publishers, so it is a common misconception that Clarivate is a publisher and have its own journals. This is not the case. There are other publishers out there in the market. We are not a publisher. We don't own our own journals. We just index the content from select journals. That means that we are absolutely neutral towards all publishers. So be it a large and reputable and well-known publicly traded publisher with multi-million or 1 billion maybe revenues globally, or maybe this is an association publisher or small university publisher, we treat all of them equally. So we don't give advantage to large publishers of the smaller ones. And that's also a very important part. Yeah, and like I said, because we have our own set of our own team of experts who are not depending on any publishers, who are all full-time employees of Clarivate, who are not holding any chairman roles in any other associations. So that makes us completely unbiased, and that makes all the selection process for Web of Science very clear. So I know I'm spending a lot of time to explain why this is important, so that to some of you this might look like a sales speech, but really this is just to explain that within Web of Science, this is a safe space for you to run searches and to trust the data that is there. Is it 100% complete from any challenges that we're facing right now? Obviously not. Even the most reputable journals sometimes make mistakes. They sometimes accept poorer quality articles to be published. But because all of them care about their reputation, and you've probably heard about an instrument or institute called retractions or corrections, mostly retractions, of course. A lot of reputable journals, in case they find that there was certain flaws in the research papers that they published, they may retract a paper. So if you would like to talk about that more, I'm happy to talk about that today as well. So once again, we are publisher neutral. We do curate all this content in-house, and specifically we pay very important attention to the open access content, because open access journals are exactly the type of the journals that can be theoretically excuse me, English is not my mother tongue, predatory. And I'm also not sitting exactly in the time zone of formulation right now. I'm in US West Coast, so it's 7 p.m. right now. So I do apologize that I might not be on the peak of my mental capabilities. So anyway, all of these three pieces, they form the really the cornerstone of our selection policy, which makes the quality of the content that you access to Web of Science superior. We do have some other processes and workflows that ensure the quality of the data. I won't be stopping on that too much, but just to give you an idea, certain things that we're doing is, if we are indexing a journal, we're indexing it cover to cover, meaning that we don't index them with any gaps in coverage, for example. And if we index them, we index all of their cited references, which is going to be very important when we are going to start calculating the time cited, or the citation counts for the documents. We index all of the author name in each of their author affiliations. So we will talk about that as well. So all of them, they really may make sure that the quality of the data you're working with is really good. And we are getting to probably the cornerstone of what makes Web of Science so important for the discovery and for the research evaluation purposes. So it's the time cited counts that we're calculating for each of the document. Now, in my 20 years career with working with citation data, I sometimes, so I know some of you have been working with this quite a while already, but some of you might be new to this concept. And sometimes I really get questions like, what is a citation? Is it when we are citing somebody, or is it when we are cited by someone? So let me try to explain to you this concept, which is really, really important to understanding the concept of citation impact or scholarly impact. In absolutely any article or review article or whatever other record we're indexing in Web of Science, there is normally such a section that is called bibliography, or cited references. This is exactly where we take in the cited references from. So let's think about this hypothetical paper from a biophysical journal that was published in 2010. Probably it does have quite a substantial number of cited references in its bibliography section. Some of those might point to other documents which are indexed in Web of Science, but some of them might point to the documents which are not, like to certain dissertations or theses, to literature classics. This can also happen, or maybe just to journals that are not covered by Web of Science. Anyway, we're indexed all of them. So regardless of where the cited reference is pointing, we're gonna capture it, and it's really important for understanding. And if the journal has been published quite a while ago, probably there are other documents in the Web of Science core collection that are also featuring this document in their cited references. So that is how we calculate the citations, by the number of the articles in the Web of Science core collection that are citing, so that have this base document in their cited references. And let's think about it this way. Only the documents that are indexed in the Web of Science core collection, we're going to capture this citation. So if the citation has been published in a thesis or in a patent, or once again in a book, for example, that is not indexed by the Web of Science core collection, we are not going to capture, we're not going to index that cited reference. Is it good or bad? Some people want to say that this is bad, because that way we're missing part of the citation impact. But think about it this way: what if if a predatory open access journal cites your paper? Do you really want this citation to be considered? The majority of reputable researchers would say no. I don't even want citations from questionable quality journals to be calculated for, or to calculate my citation impact. And that's absolutely true. And that's not a problem for Web of Science because we keep all the proprietary open access journals away from the database. And that means if your paper is cited by a lower quality, not a reputable journal or conference or a book, we're just not going to index it. We're only indexing the citations from reputable sources. And that really makes the citation metrics on Web of Science transparent, easy to check and verify, and comparable. So that's the whole concept. So once again, the cited references are the links that are facing into the past, so to previously published records. And this is for any record, for any document, this is a stable number. So as soon as you have published a paper, you can change the number of cited references there. But the citing articles and number of citations is normally dynamic number. So in case you published an impactful paper, you can see that this number is probably going to increase in the future. So it's you can accumulate more and more citations over time. And that's basically the way we can indicate whether or not the paper is impactful. So if your paper has received quite a decent amount of citations, that yes, that means that the subsequent generation of researchers were influenced by your research results. That means your particular research results were important, impactful, and made certain importance for these researchers. If your paper has been published in a reputable journal but still hasn't received any citations, that unfortunately means that maybe its time hasn't come yet, and there are such cases in the bibliometrics. Maybe this paper isn't really impactful, at least for the moment. So that's approximately how it works. And let's talk about the use cases. So what exactly we can do with the Web of Science? I'm going to show you some screenshots, and I tried to pick this topic of Internet of Things. I know it might not be the most exciting thing for a lot of you, because a lot of you might be conducting research in other subject areas. Well, this is also not a topic in which I am very proficient. I studied economics and management in the university, so it's not my topic in Internet of Things. But let's see what happens if we run this search past Web of Science core collection. So what I did is I united two terms, Internet of Things and its abbreviation of IoT with the Boolean operator OR. Once again, some of you might be very experienced in working with Boolean search operators, and you might not be reminded of what that is. Some of you might be already spoiled with Google-like search, and specifically with ChatGPT like prompts. So if that's the case, well, maybe that's going to be a learning curve for you, particularly to study that. But the good news is that we're also introducing smart search in the Web of Science. It is already available to some of our customers. It is going to become available to some of the customers slightly later in the year, but it's almost already available. And we also do have, which unfortunately comes at a separate cost, we also have a ChatGPT-like research assistant. So that's a chat bot that you can just start asking questions like, can you summarize the research for me in this area? And it's going to do that. But what we are going to focus now is the way the librarians, the researchers, and research administrators have been running searches for last 50 or so years, starting from when the electronic online search has basically emerged sometime in the 70s, probably. So I feed this topical search to Web of Science, and it gave me a huge number of results. So as you can see, we have, I didn't run this search yesterday, I ran it probably maybe a year ago. And even then, it returned to me, as you can see in the upper left corner, 144,000 results. That's an enormous amount of results. And even if we try to read all these records, probably our entire life won't be enough to read them, and while we're going to be reading them, more and more can be published. So I appreciate this is quite a wide topic, Internet of Things. So probably if you particularly are conducting research in Internet of Things, you're probably conducting it in a narrower area. So you might want to refine this search further, and you can totally do that. So you can also add keywords to this topic. So for example, quite an important topic in the recent years, like fog computing, we can add it, and that's going to reduce the number of the results that we see. And in case you really care about Internet of Things and fog computing, it's going to be much closer, much more relevant search to what you're searching for. Speaking about relevance, the default sorting of the items in this search window, they're sorted by relevance, as you can see right here. I'll just try to make it with laser pointer. So right here, we see that the results are sorted by relevance. And that's great, because this means that this particular record is the most relevant for the topic of Internet of Things. How are we deciding that it's the most relevant? Well, it has the most frequent, it features the term Internet of Things or IoT the most frequently among its other words that you can find in the title, in the abstract, and in the keywords. So it might as well mean that it has quite a short abstract and a short title, but as you can see, it's highlighting to us whatever terms we were searching. So it shows us that it really features a lot of times the word Internet of Things, IoT, etc. So that is really a relevant search result. Everything that comes after it basically gets assigned a score versus this highest score of the relevance. So all the other results are less relevant, but I'm pretty sure that all the first few hundred, maybe dozen thousand of results, they're really going to be super relevant for the topic of Internet of Things. And once again, by default, they're sorted by relevance. So my point was, if we start studying a topic with such a search, it's not a really great thing to just read all the articles by their relevance, just because there are 144,000 of them. So instead, what we can do is we can change the sorting to sorting by citations. So for example, citations highest first. And that gives us, sorry, I just have another screen here. I'll probably just try to hide it, minimize. Just like that. So as you can see, this particular record, sorry, now my screen is frozen. Yeah, now we're good. So this particular document that is called the Internet of Things, a survey, it might not feature that many references to the Internet of Things itself, although it does have it in the title and in the abstract. But the important thing is that this record has been cited, as you can see, 6,890 times. So that's a fantastic number of citations. So that means that this particular document has been cited by the following generation of researchers so many times that the count of the documents is in the thousands. And once again, I made this screenshot approximately a year ago, so the true number now is even higher. So that allows us to filter the most impactful, the most important records. And imagine if you are doing new studies in the topic of Internet of Things, you probably absolutely need to read this article if you haven't yet, because this is one of the most important articles relevant to the topic of Internet of Things. Okay, that's the point. What else we can do? So as you can see on the results page, we have the results themselves. They're going to be on the right-hand side, and they're going to be once again sorted by the sorting that you're applying here. And we also have the refine results panel on the left-hand side. So that basically gives us a chance to filter our results or compare them in terms of like who are the top researcher names that appear on these documents, what are the top affiliations that appear on these documents. So we can start running our exploratory analysis. Like if we've run a topical search for the Internet of Things, we might want to know which journals publish these results most frequently to find the most relevant journals for us to read. Or we might look for the researchers that publish the most on this topic to focus on the researchers that we want to follow, we want to maybe work with them, we want maybe to reach out to them to ask any questions about their research processes and how they made it to those research results. So that happens on the refined results panel, but it only shows you like 5 top categories, like top 5 researchers that are most popular in this data set, or top 5 journals that are relevant for this data set. Top 5 is probably not not a lot for a thorough comparison, and that's why we have this button called Analyze Results here. So if we click that one, this is where we can start analyzing more than 5 top results, like top 20, top 25, top 500 results. We can collect them into tables. We can bring them on graphical plots, just like this tree map here. So what we see here is we've broken down all of these 144,000 papers by the researcher name. And those are the 25, if I'm not mistaken, top researchers who are the most active on the topic of Internet of Things. And as you can see, the number in each rectangle means the number of the records that this particular researcher has published, specifically featuring the word IoT or Internet of Things in its abstract title or keywords. And if we care about any of these researchers, like, for example, this one, Kim Kwang, Raymond Chu, if we want to know more about this researcher, we can click their profile. And in 2 clicks, we can get into, we can click their name, the rectangle with their names. And in a couple of clicks, we can get into their researcher profile. So we're going to be talking to you about the researcher profiles today. If you have any papers published in Web of Science, you probably have the algorithmically generated record for you already. And what you can do during this session, or maybe right after that, is you can log into Web of Science and you can claim your profile and turn it into something like this, into a meaningful page, which has its number of documents, its citation metrics, its list of documents, grants, peer reviews, etc. So you can maintain your profile here on Web of Science. And we're really investing a lot of time into making sure that this administration of your profile on the Web of Science, it doesn't take too much of your time. So you can also sync it with your ORCID profile. You can also automate it so that any new paper that has a similarly looking author name, for example, with similar affiliation that it appears on Web of Science, it can be linked to your profile automatically. So there are a lot of things that really reduce the tension in administering your profile that we're doing. And this to you as researchers, this can be a great way to showcase your results and your track record. And this is a great way of searching for new, maybe scholarly contacts that may or may not, in the end of the day, also lead to certain joint research projects. So we will talk about it, how to find the top researchers in a given subject area. Let's focus on what else we can do with these search results. Once again, we're still working with that data set on Internet of Things. We can also break them down by organizations. And this will give us the list of top organizations that work in these subject areas. And as you can see, the number in the rectangle is once again the number of documents that feature this word. So the top organizations in this area are Chinese Academy of Sciences, followed by National Institute of Technology and IT System, Egyptian Knowledge Bank, etc. A lot of those are like umbrella brands that contain a lot of institutions within them, but we can keep going in this list of organizations, and sooner or later we'll start getting into the individual universities and we'll figure out which of them are the most productive in this sense. That's not all what we can do. We can also break down the results by their publication year. So because we index publication year for every publication, we can do something like this. And what we see here is that for the topic of Internet of Things, we can see how this topic was explosively increasing in terms of its volume sometime around the years 2010 to 2018. Well, then this growth slightly slowed down. So once again, I probably made this snapshot sometime around June, probably this year. But the important thing is that I'm pretty sure if we run this search right now, it's probably going to have much more documents in 2025. So I'm pretty sure this growth is going to continue. But the point I'm trying to make is that the period of the exponential growth of this topic in popularity, they are probably behind us already. And what you can do is, in case you think you found a topic that is growing, that is very hot, you can try to break it down by years. And if you see this exponential growth happening right now, that means that you've uncovered really something very, very precious. So you have hit a topic that is growing exponential. So that's probably really, really hot and emerging topic in modern science. If you want, I can try to show you a couple of these examples. But yeah, their problem is they are they have this each of these topics, they have their period of exponential growth, but while at several years after that it plateaus. So it's really important to get into this streaming to catch this wave of exponentially growing emerging topic. What else we can do? We can break these results down by the source titles. And by source titles, I mean three key sources that Web of Science indexes. We index journals, we index conferences. You can see them on the right-hand side. We also index books. I didn't add it into this visualization, but you can also break this down by books. But I think conferences and journals might be the most important analysis. So once again, we've run a search on the Internet of Things. And on the left-hand side, I've shown you a visualization of how these results break down by journals. So these journals are the most relevant to us in case we are conducting research in this topic. And there's just so many ways we can use this data. So if I am a researcher, I want to make sure I follow these journals. So I might just set another search in Web of Science for these journals and subscribe to alerts for them. So each time these journals, they publish a new volume or new issue, I get alerted. So you can do this in Web of Science, and you can just read the contents of the fresh issue. This is also a very important piece of analysis for librarians, because that's basically how university librarians, they normally decide which journals are required for full text subscription. So whenever a university is conducting heavily research in certain topics, and we want to make sure that our researchers, they get access to these journals seamlessly, this is where we can just run this search and understand, okay, so if out of these top journals, journal number, let's say 3, 4, and 5, they are subscription-based, not open access, that means we need to pay a subscription to these journals to have our university users to have seamless access to the contents of these journals. And that's basically how your library normally works with the full text subscriptions. Obviously, if there are open access journals in these sets of results, there's no need to purchase subscriptions to those, because they have an absolutely different funding model. They get money from the authors themselves. But yeah, this is still a very important exercise that university librarians, they do almost on a regular basis. And on the right-hand side, you see the list of the conferences, which are the most important and the most frequently featured in the terms of Internet of Things. So in case you work in a subject area that features conferences as one of the primary ways of research results dissemination, you might pick one of these conferences to go there next to announce your research results there, for example, or just go there for networking and to work on some additional academic context there. What else we can do? We can also break the results down by funding agencies, and that will show us which funding agencies were supporting this research. Once again, in our case, in the topic of IoT and Internet of Things, and how we can read this data in case these agencies were funding this research previously. There are chances that they have open programs on their websites right now. So if you see any agency here right on the top of the list, feel free to go to the website and check if they have open programs for the same topic right now. So that means if they have them, that's a great way for you to apply for funding, for research funding, and by that basically to unload their research budget of the university. So I'm not sure how this process is set up in UPNM, but in a lot of cases, the universities are basically very, very interested in this. Additionally, stimulate their researchers to apply for external grants just because the own budget of the university is normally not enough to conduct all of the research that the researchers want to conduct. So those were the use cases mostly related to discovery search. So by discovery search, we normally mean that we run a topical search and we try to understand what's the most important in this subject area, who is working in this subject area, where to publish, what to read, and where to basically apply for funding. Is that all we can do with Web of Science? Obviously not. Just because we index every researcher, and for every researcher we index in their affiliation, we can also search for all the papers with UPNM affiliation. And that's really cool because, so first of all, we have unified the affiliation profile for UPNM. And that means, so why does this matter? Some of the journals or some of the researchers, I'm sure there's no single way of putting the name of UPNM as an affiliation. So some of you would put a name of University Perpustakaan Nasional Malaysia, some will put UPNM, some will put maybe other names. Some of them might put an English translation of the university name. And that gives us, and once again, some of the journals, they will just translate the name of the university. Some of the journals, they will just abbreviate it without even the researcher themselves knowing that. That gives us so many different name variants for a given university that approximately 15 years ago, we just started to unify them into one affiliation. So you can still search Web of Science for the non-unified name variants, but we've already did the 99.9% of job for you, and we already linked a lot of different name variants for the UPNM to your unique affiliation name. So this is what your affiliation name looks on Web of Science. And that means that whoever runs this search, it might be a researcher or librarian from the UPNM, it might be somebody from Ministry of Health of Malaysia, it might be somebody from a completely different organization outside in the world. They should get exactly the same numbers just because the search is now standardized like that. So what happens if we run an affiliation search for UPNM? This is the search that I've run yesterday. And I was able to find 2,772 documents. That's a great accomplishment. We can also track your research results by years. We can also understand your total citations. You can also understand the most active of the researchers that are working on in this data set. So basically the most active researchers from UPNM and their collaborators. We can see which organizations you're collaborating with, and we can see which organizations have already been funding UPNM research. So I only have this screenshot at the moment, and yeah, another important thing that I wanted to show you is that the most cited record ever published so far by a UPNM researcher is this, a review on applications and challenges of nanofluids. I can't say from here, like whether or not all the 3 researchers come from UPNM or maybe only one of them comes from the UPNM. But the important thing is that this record has been cited over 1,500 times. So this means this is a really, really important document in the topic of nanofluids. So my congratulations to that, and I would encourage a lot of you to try to overcome this number of citations with your research results. But once again, my point was that with affiliation searches, we can not only understand what's going on with the research in a given organization, like what are the topics it's publishing for, but we can also understand what are the top research results that it produced, who are the key stars, what organizations they collaborate with, where they publish their results, and who were funding their research previously. Okay, so for today's conversation, let's talk about these 2 groups of use cases. One is going to be the discovery search or the topical search. And number 2 is I'm going to show you a few things that we can play with UPNM research results and how we can interpret them. Okay, so that took me approximately 45 minutes to talk, and I would think that next 45 minutes we'll try to spend in the live session of Web of Science. So once again, different universities work on this access in their own way. So some of the universities encourage their researchers just to go to their library website, and normally the library website, there are all the database which exists in the subscription, and you can just click the name of the database and just be dragged into the interface of it from there. If that's the way you're working, I won't be suggesting you otherwise. If you also prefer maybe saving the hyperlinks in your bookmarks and using them to access the systems, please do that as well. But the important thing is that in order to access Web of Science, you just go to webofscience.com, and I'll just leave it here. Let me switch to the Web of Science interface. So this is approximately what the Web of Science interface looks right now. Now, we at Clarivate, I think we're slightly maybe shooting ourselves in the leg with this, because all the internal Clarivate employees will get access to like the QA environment, to the next generation interface of the Web of Science. So sometimes when I'm showing to my customers the Web of Science interface, they sometimes say, "Oh, hey, I haven't got this feature yet." But that means that if you don't have this feature yet, you're probably going to get it in the next month or 2. So stay tuned. Anyway, I can't say right now whether or not you already received the smart search as your primary tool for searching, or you just start with the advanced search. So if that didn't happen, it's probably going to happen in the next week or few. But let me just very quickly give you an overview of the smart search in case it exists already for you. And from there, we'll just be going into the advanced search. And I promised you that we're going to spend the most time today still in the advanced search. The smart search is basically the thing that we can use to search for basically anything. It's going to be using the GenAI capabilities to interpret the search query, and it's going to give us the results. So we can try to search, for example, for the topic of biocomposites. And it's going to search for us. Search for us the topical search. It might also search for us all the documents that were published in the journal, if it exists such a journal of biocomposite. So that's how it works. Now it's very convenient. It's very fast. It's very smart. But the professional librarians and more advanced later career researchers, if I put it like that, they don't really prefer working with this search because it's slightly harder to replicate these search results. And what I mean by that is that because it uses fuzzy logic and it uses the AI to interpret what sort of search you just fed to it. If 2 exactly the same people are going to run this search in different parts of the world. Maybe the results are even going to be slightly different. And if you run it, maybe if you keep complicating the search query, the chances are going to get higher that two people doing exactly the same search, they might even get slightly different results. You can still copy the query link right here and share it with any of your colleagues. So if I, for example, is there a way for me to get back into the? Let me stop the sharing. So what I did is I just shared the link to this search in the chat window, so you can basically try to click that link, and you're going to be dragged into the same search results on your access. Now you might be having slightly less results in your access to Web of Science, just because me as an internal Clarivate employee, I have access to all the depth of the back file of the Web of Science core collection, meaning I also have access to like documents from the 1900, 1910, so to really old documents. Probably your university, you haven't been subscribing to that deep of the archive, so you might have slightly less number of documents if you run exactly the same search, but it doesn't mean that my search results are more correct or less correct than yours. It's just that we're focusing on specific publication years to analyze them. But once again, what I wanted to show you and what I wanted to give a training to you today is this, the advanced search, and that's where we're going to spend slightly more time today. So I deliberately picked this topic of biocomposite just because I ran my search on UPNM research results, and I've seen that in the recent few years, there have been a few really highly cited papers that feature the word biocomposite. So I personally, I tried to make this topic interesting for you. So I hope this is relevant for a lot of the researchers that are here. Now, I'm pretty sure not all of you are working on the topic of biocomposite, but this is like the strong point of UPNM's research, and I congratulate you with that. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to, let me zoom that in a bit. I'm trying to, first of all, select Web of Science core collection as the database for search. This is done right here. So it is a default database, but if you click this area in your access, you're going to see that there might be other databases which you can search on the Web of Science platform. So you might as well not have all of this list because it exists in my internal Clarivate access. But what you're definitely going to have is maybe things like preprint citation index, ProQuest dissertation and thesis citation index. So those are slightly different databases which we either give you for free in your subscription, or maybe the library subscribe to them for an extra cost. So it is really important to understand that our today's conversation is mostly about the Web of Science core collection database. You can also, instead of that, you can try to run a search on all databases, but I would not recommend you to do that just now, because it might seem that with all database search you might get more results with the same search query, but the ways you can analyze these results, they're going to be much more limited than whenever you're running a search on Web of Science core collection, just because whenever we're running a search on all databases, we're just running a search on the fields that are common across all the databases, and some of them might feature unique fields that others don't have. So that's why I would recommend you to start trying for Web of Science core collection. This is like the golden standard in the world for citation calculations. And let's see what we have here. So we can search for all fields, and I would also probably not recommend you to use this feature because at least not for 100% of your searches, just because it's all or nothing basically. So if you search for all fields containing the term biocomposite, that's going to give you the legitimate documents that feature the word biocomposite. But imagine this, that it may also give you a document that is not related to biocomposite at all, except for that it was published by National Institute of Biocomposites, for example, but the document itself was on a completely different topic, not on biocomposites. So that's how you can get a bit of a fuss, a bit of a noise in these results. That's why I would suggest, I would encourage you to run your first few searches on Web of Science on a topic. And that means when we're running topical search, it's going to find matches for the term that we pass to it in the title, abstract, or keywords of the documents that we've that's running the search across. So once again, let's try to run this search on biocomposite. If any of you are not interested in this topic at all, I would encourage you to maybe just put in the chat window, what would you like me to search, so that it keeps getting interesting for you. So I promise to you that one or two searches that you suggest, I will also try to run it past Web of Science, and I'll share with you some of the cool things you can do with these searches. So if you want to learn more about the area you're studying, please feel free to share this in the chat window while I'm showing you the biocomposites. So let's hit the search button, and we're getting over 16,000 results. Well, it's not 144,000. That's what we got with Internet of Things, but that's still a lot. And as I've been showing you a while ago, we still have the results sorted by relevance. So this is probably the most relevant result to the topic of biochar, but it's also quite a new one. So as you can see, its publication date is 15th of January 2026. You might ask, hold on, how is that possible? That this is the date in the future? Is there an error in Web of Science? And the answer is no. We actually accept a lot of documents from different publishers on so-called early access model. What exactly that means? That means that if a publisher has already decided that, yes, they published this document, it's just that they haven't yet assigned a formal issue, volume, and page number to this document. They make the content available on their website, and they make this content available to us through the feeds. It's just that the document hasn't been formally published. It doesn't have the formal volume, issue, and page number. But yes, it has passed all the processes for double-blind peer reviews, for example. So you can already start reading the document right now. So that's how we see some of the content in Web of Science ahead of its publication date. But that's not what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you is I wanted to sort these documents by citations. As you can see, we can also sort them by date, so that we can also see the newest documents in this topic appearing. And yeah, Web of Science has been updated on a daily basis. So if we run this search once again tomorrow, probably it's going to have slightly more documents. But what I wanted to show you is the sorting by citations highest first. So that's descending. And those three documents that we are looking at right now, those are the most important documents in the topic of biocomposites. Some of them were published in 2012, some of them were published in the year 2000, some of them in 2009. But as you can see, all of them have accumulated more than 2,000 citations. So those are super important research results in the field of biocomposites, okay? Let's go into one of these documents and see what's going on there. So what exactly we are indexing for each of the documents? We're indexing their title, we're indexing their researcher names, and just in case researcher names can be ambiguous, so for example, there might be multiple people with the name Farouk Omar in the world, we're also indexing their researcher IDs or ORCIDs in case they provided them to the publisher. So those are going to be here. We have information about the source, where exactly this paper has been published. And if I click the source title, we can also try to search for this journal on Web of Science. But I also do have this button of View Journal Impact. Now, when I click that, I'm not going to get exactly the same pages you're going to get. And let me try to explain this in a few seconds. So once again, what I did is I found the journal title and I just clicked it and I clicked View Journal Impact. So what I see in my access is I see the journal impact factor. and I see its rank in its category, and I see its quartile, and also another indicator which is called journal citation indicator. I won't be stopping on that, just being conscious of time. Now, if you are going to click the same, or maybe another journal in your access, you're going to see a slightly different picture just because UPNM hasn't yet subscribed to journal citation reports. You're not going to see the journal impact factor or the 5-year journal impact factor. You're not going to see the category rank of this journal, but you're still going to see, and that's really important, you're still going to see the journal's quartile. So why I think this is important? Although we are a commercial company, and of course we would love UPNM at some point to subscribe to Journal Impact Factor, what I'm trying to say this for is that even if you don't have a subscription to journal citation reports, you're still going to see the quartile of this journal. So sometimes at this point we have a question of what journal quartile means, and let me try to explain this very quickly. So the journal impact factor itself is 26.1. So this is probably the value you're not going to see in your access. Is this a high number or is this a low number? Well, probably if you've been working with journal impact factor for quite a while, you can say that yes, this is a high number. But what if we see the value of 3 here, for example? We sometimes can't tell if it's a high number or a low number, specifically because a journal impact factor of 3 in the subject area of polymer science is not going to be a particularly great journal. But there are only a few journals with such a high journal impact factor of 3 in the subject area of mathematics. Just because in mathematics, the average number of citations is normally smaller than in polymer science. Again, that's not because polymer science is a better science or more important science than mathematics. It's just the practice of citations across different subject areas. In certain subject areas, people prefer to cite more. In certain subject areas, people prefer to cite less. And if you take a look at the subject area of history, for example, there has never been a journal there with an impact factor as high as 3, just because this is, once again, the practice of citation in subject area of history. So I would probably not even encourage you to take a look at the or to search for the journal impact factor, even though you don't have this theoretically right now on your subscription. But what's more important is how does the journal rank within its own subject category? So if we compare like with the like, that's a much more important thing to take a look at. And once again, if the journal ranks, let's say, 30th in its subject area, is it good or not? There are wide subject areas, wide, I mean, very large scale subject areas like mathematics, for example, that has over 300 journals in Wall of Science. And there are much narrower subject areas, just like urban studies, that only features a few dozen journals in Wall of Science. So once again, if the journal states that it holds rank number 30 in its subject area according to journal impact factor, that doesn't tell us a lot. And that's why, like 10 years ago, we decided to go for a much simpler thing. We just rank all the journals from the highest impact to the lowest impact in each subject area. And we break these subject areas afterwards in 4 exactly the same parts. And each of these parts is called quartiles. So the quartile 1 is basically the 25% of top journals, followed by next 25%, next 25%, and next 25%. So quartile 3 and quartile 4 are not necessarily bad journals. They still made it through one of the most hardest selection policies in the world. It's just that those journals might maybe feature smaller readership audiences, and that's why a good paper that you might submit to those journals might receive smaller number of citations. While this is, well, obviously because we can see that this particular journal holds the first rank out of 94 in the subject area of polymer science, obviously it's going to qualify for the top 25% if it's number 1. So yeah, it goes out of question that this journal is in the first quartile, which is great. Once again, I want to repeat this for everybody. You still can see the quartile data in your access of Web of Science. So if you want to check, what is this journal in the first quartile or is it not, just click the name of the journal and click the View Journal Impact. You're going to see a few data fields here, but you're still going to see this quartile right here, okay? All right, what else do we have? We have information about when this document was published and when it was indexed. We can see the document type. We can see the abstract, and we can see the keywords, and we can see the affiliation. So this is exactly how we can get to all the UPNM authored papers. We can also even get the email, at least of the first researcher. That's how you can basically mine the researcher emails in Web of Science. And we can also see some subject categories to which this particular record is linked to. If we click the see more data fields, you might see some more data in case it exists. Some information that once again comes if you do have a subscription to journal citation reports. And then we have this list of the cited references that goes normally with every record, okay? Now, the citations themselves, we have them on the upper right corner. So this is the 2,889 citations that this document has received. You would normally see exactly the same or slightly higher number right beneath it. And these are all the citations that this record has received across all the Web of Science databases. Now, we sometimes have a question from our users, which number is more correct? I would say both of them are correct. But if why are they different? As we already mentioned, Web of Science is the most selective of all the databases and features the strictest selection criteria. So I would say this number is more precise just because it comes from the selected journals that have proven their quality. While this number, it can first of all come from some other data sources, like from patents, for example, from policy documents. So if we want to decomposite this number, we can click the see more times cited and see from which databases these numbers are coming from. Even if you're not able to click any of them, so first of all, the important thing is you don't need to be subscribed to all these databases to see these numbers. But in case you do have a subscription to this database, this link is going to be, this number is going to be basically a hyperlink. So you can go to this citing documents and see which documents were citing it. But yeah, just because some of these documents are patents, like in Derwent Innovations Index, for example, some of them have never passed the selection process in Web of Science and might even be theoretically predatory open access journals. You might want to use this number for reporting purposes, for research evaluation purposes, etc. But just to track the total amount of citations, just to see if your particular record has been also cited elsewhere, yes, you can also use the second number. But the gold standard is normally the upper one, the number of citations in the Web of Science core collection. And then we have the quite a significant number of cited references. So the bibliography part of this particular document has been huge, and which is a normal thing for a review paper. So it was citing 525 documents in its bibliography. Okay, now there's an important thing that you might see we're missing here, and that's the full text. So yeah, some of the first-time Web of Science users, they get slightly shocked by that. Yes, Web of Science is not a full-text database. We are an abstract database. But in case your library is subscribed to that full text, you're obviously going to get the access to this full text at no cost. So you can just click the full text at publisher site, and it's going to be taking you to the full text. Now, if me as the Clarivate employee, I don't probably have a subscription to this particular journal, that way I'm going to be dragged into the this time it's Elsevier's page, where I can purchase this PDF for some money. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing that, but again, if your library is subscribed to any of the journals, then all these links are going to be working for you by default. So you're going to get the seamless access to everything that your library is subscribed for. Okay. And that was the full document record. Let's get back to the search results. So I also wanted to show you the quick filters right here. So you're definitely going to still have the filters like for the open access, for open publisher invited peer reviews. So you can also see some additional data here. We can track how this topic has evolved over years. So if you remember, I was showing you the top years of publication for a given topic. We can see that the record year so far for the topic of biocomposites was 2024, and our 2025 hasn't finished yet. Something tells me that this 2024 record is going to be broken in 2025, maybe close to the end of 2025. And we already have at least 4 documents from 2026. So you can also refine results by publication year. You can refine them by document types, and you can see all the variety of the different document types that we index in the Web of Science core collection. You can see the researcher profiles, and if you're interested in any of them, you can just click them and see that, okay, this Lars Berglund, he works, I'm assuming it's he works in KTH Royal Institute of Technology, and we can even go to his researcher profile to know more about what this researcher is. So we can see the different identifiers, we can see there are different affiliations where they've been working, we can see the subject areas in which they have been working, we can see all of their metrics. So unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about each of their metrics, of these metrics today. If at some point you would like to have a webinar on what is some of the time cited and what's the H index and how these metrics are calculated and how they are interpreted, we can always conduct a separate session for you on that. But it's really important to understand that you can compare all the researchers according to these metrics, but it's really important that you compare researchers within the same subject area. So you can just take a researcher in mathematics and compare him with or her with a researcher in, let's say, particle physics of these metrics. They're probably going to be very different, and we're only encouraging. So it's a really fundamental rule of bibliometrics to compare like with the like, apples with apples and oranges with oranges. Okay, let's go back. If we want, let's take a look at another researcher, Muhammad Jawaid. This researcher even has their profile picture uploaded, which is great. So once again, in a few minutes, I'll show you how to maintain your own researcher profiles. We can take a look at which subject areas, and we utilize a number of different subject area schemas, with Web of Science probably being the journal level schema, the easiest one to comprehend, and some others being more advanced, like the citation topics micro, which is a more advanced way of document level clustering, or the sustainable development goals. We're also linking all the documents to those. We can see the affiliations, which once again means which research organizations are working the most actively on this or that topic. In this case, biocomposites. Yeah. So these are the top organizations, and you can see UPNM is also working very actively on that. We can see the publication titles, and that means we can see which journals are publishing the documents on this topic the most. We can see the languages, and it's really important that at least every 5th document that's indexed in the Web of Science is not in English. Yes, the abstract metadata definitely has to be in English, but the full text of the document, as you can see, can be in Chinese, in Russian, in Portuguese, in any language. We can also compare the research outputs by countries, publishers. If you want just to focus on open access documents, you can also do that. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is the funding agencies. So this is the list, at least the top 5 funding agencies that were funding the research in biocomposites recently, actually in all of the history that we're monitoring. We can also click this see all, and in case the top 5 is not enough for us, and that way we're going to see like the top 100 of this. And if even that is not enough for us, I would remind you that we do have this analyze results button right here, which we can use, and that way we can go into the proper analyze results, and we can even select the funding agencies here, and we can try to visualize them, like top 25 funding agencies here, or the top 500 funding agencies in the table right beneath the visualization. So once again, the way we can read this data is 132 of these research papers were funded by the Ministry of Education of Malaysia. So if that's quite a lot. So yeah. And in case you want to see these documents, you can also click the view records, and that's how we can refine results to just the subset of the biocomposite documents that were funded by Ministry of Education of Malaysia. That means that maybe Ministry of Education of Malaysia does have the open programs for this topic right now, so it's a good idea to go to their website and see if you can still apply for a grant there, in case, of course, you're doing your research on biocomposites. Okay. I'm removing that from the results. So that's how we normally work with the topical search. Now, the next thing that I wanted to show you is if we go back to the search and we switch from the topic. So yeah, let me show you the title search first of all. So we've been running topical search, which basically search for matches in the title, abstract, and keywords plus, and it returns to us 16,000 records, which is a lot, but maybe not all of these documents are super relevant. So if I go to the last page of the search, one of the last pages of the search, this is the document that it was found by this search, but it only features the word biocomposites once. So maybe it says that this particular thing that we reviewed, it might be of certain importance for the biocomposite research. So it's not the primary topic of this paper. Okay, so instead we can just to increase the relevance of our search, we can just run a search on the title. And if we run that kind of search, we're only left with 6,500 results. But those are, all of them contain the word biocomposites in the title, meaning that those are definitely super relevant to our search. Yes, you're probably losing a part of the results like that, but with that, if you value relevance over completeness of the search results, you can also do that. You can also search for author name. I'll show you a better way of doing that short. You can also search for publication titles, meaning for a specific journal. So if you're interested in a journal, let's say Polymers, you can, I guess such a journal exists. Yeah, you can only search for the records from this particular journal. But what I wanted to show to you is the affiliation search, and that's exactly how we can find all the records by the UPNM. So we can just start typing the UPNM's name, the full name, in the search window. So I put the university there, and then this is already the suggestion that it has for me. So I can just click that. And when I hit the search button, it gives me 2,772 results. So once again, if you run exactly the same search in your Web of Science access, you might get a slightly less number of documents. That doesn't mean that your search is broken. That just means that you don't have the access to full back files, for example, for the Web of Science. Maybe you don't have the access to like 1970s records or 1980s. That's why your number of documents is slightly less than mine. Maybe it's going to be exactly equal to mine. Let's see what we can do here. We can see your top papers published across different years. We can see, if I go to analyze results, I could give you some explanatory analysis right here on the refine results panel, and I would strongly encourage you to first start taking a look at the refine results panel. But because I really want to give you some nice pictures about what's going on with the research at UPNM, I can click the Analyze Results button, and first of all, we can see the, let's say, the final publication year. So we can assess UPNM's research output, and you can see how it was growing in around 2010, 2012. And I would say that the year 2025 is not yet complete, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be more successful in terms of research outputs than 2024, which is great. We can also see the top researchers, except for I'm going to change the sorting from alphabetical to the results count. So these are the most active researchers who are working in UPNM and their collaborators. So it's really important to understand that because we've run a search in UPNM, those are all the researcher names that appear on these documents, and some of them might be the employees of UPNM. Some of them might be the people who collaborate with them. Just they have affiliations with different organizations. But those, it is important that those are the most active ones. And once again, if we want to see any of these profiles, we can just hover our mouse above their rectangle, click View Results. That's going to open for us the set of the results for these papers, and we can then find the name of this researcher. So I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Apologies if I didn't. And we can click, and that's how we can get into the into the researcher profile. And this is where I'd like probably to talk to you about the researcher profile. So even if you haven't been claiming your profile, so how do I know that this profile has been claimed? It has this little green tick right next to it. Even if your profile hasn't been claimed, I would strongly encourage you to get into Web of Science, run a search on yourself, and try to maybe claim your profile. That will, in the end of the day, just increase the precision with which we are calculating your number of documents and your metrics. And as you can see, for every researcher, we have these metrics available, so you can compare them across disciplines, actually within one disciplines. You can see the documents themselves that were published by this researcher. We can even see if their peer review activity, etc. So all this can be explored in the profile. Let me jump back into the results, and what else we can do. We can also see, let's refine the results by the affiliations. Why would I want to do that? Obviously, all of these documents are affiliated with UPNM, which is something that we expected. But as you can see, we can also see UKM, UPM, UM here. So other universities are also appearing on this list. Why exactly this happens? Just like I said, because those were the universities that collaborated with you on a lot of papers. And that way we can also assess which organizations you are most actively collaborating with, and how actively, and if you'd like to only focus on exploring the records that have been published in a collaboration between UPNM and any of these organizations, you can just hover your mouse above them and just click the View Records, okay? We can do exactly the same for a specific researcher. So if you'd like to explore the collaboration between two researchers, you can also do that at the researcher level. If you want to explore the collaboration between the two countries, you can also do that at the country level. Let me show you how this can be done. So if we refine all the results by countries and regions, we can see that those are the countries that you as researchers are collaborating with. It's obvious that exactly the same number as the number of documents by UPNM come from Malaysia, but and obviously all the Malaysian collaborations are also within this 2,700. But you also collaborate greatly with India, Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, etc. And I think you would like to see what were the funding agencies that funding the research results. So obviously, number one funder is the Ministry of Education Malaysia, followed by National Defense University of Malaysia, UPNM itself, UKM, etc. So as you can see, I would say that you as an organization are greatly dependent on the intra-Malaysian funds. And I don't know if I'm in a position to give any advice, but maybe if you could try to search for international funders that could also fund your research, because academic funding, it doesn't actually have that many borders. You can also try to apply for, so you can also try to run a topical search on your particular topic, and try to apply for grant funding elsewhere. So maybe in Singapore, maybe in Japan, maybe in another country. So there are really a lot of international funding bodies that support research globally, not just in the country where they're based. So that's just an observation. I'm not saying that what I'm seeing is particularly bad. I'm just saying that maybe you could explore the funding from outside of Malaysia that could just really increase the volumes of the research that you're conducting within UPNM. Yeah, and that's all we can do about the document search. So we tried with you the affiliation search, we tried with you the topic and title search. Now, I promised you the author search, and we can certainly try to search for an author here. So let me put my last name here. I don't actually have papers in the Web of Science core collection. I do have some outside of the core collection, but that were cited by the core collection documents. But if I try to run this search, it's an okay to run a search like that. It's just that once again, there are many people in the world that also have the same last name as I do. Some of them have a different patronymic name, so it's not exactly the best way to search for the researcher. And if you've noticed, we also have another tab here. And that's a really key tab to run search for the researchers, because that way the documents tab in which we've just spent another 45 minutes, we're actually searching for the documents, which is not bad. It's a good thing, but maybe we want to search for researcher profiles rather than for the documents. And that's what we can do with this tab. So what we can do here is we can run a name search, and I would encourage to switch to this tab. By the way, you don't even need a subscription to Web of Science for that, so you can try to search for researchers even without a subscription to Web of Science. So if you are accessing Web of Science outside of the premises of the university and it requires login and password, for example, you can still use the researcher search. And if I try to search for myself, I can still do that. So if I search for Kasyanov and P, like all of the different first names, we can see like these three profiles. This is actually my profile, so I can go into that. I've already created that, but I don't think that's going to be really exciting for you. What's going to be really exciting for you if you try to search for yourself, or if you search by all of the researcher profiles that are, excuse me, with your university, with the UPNM. Sorry, like this. So that way we get more than 800 researcher profiles that are, we know that are affiliated with UPNM, and it's our algorithm that decides if the researcher is affiliated. So we don't have access to your employment contracts, but if at least on a few of the recent documents there has been an affiliation of UPNM, that way we can count that this researcher is affiliated with UPNM. And as you can see, a lot of and that's great news, that's really looks great for me, a lot of the researcher profiles are claimed. So as you can see, they come with this little green ticks. This particular is not a bad thing. It's just that I'm going to show you what does an unclaimed profile look like. Okay. So when we go into an unclaimed profile, it still has all the documents. It still has all the metrics. It still has different author names, affiliations, and subject categories. It's just that it's algorithmically generated. So that means that there was a statistical model that was clustering the research papers based on the different similar author names, affiliations, and subject areas, and it has found 106 documents that seems to belong to the same person. But this person hasn't yet logged into Web of Science and hasn't yet confirmed that, yes, I'm a live human, all these documents belong to me. So we still trust this data. It's just that if this gentleman would, I don't know, I'm sorry if I'm misgendering anything, but anyone, but if that person would log into Web of Science and claim their documents, that would certainly increase the level of trust that we can pose to this data set. Okay, so once again, we can still see all the metrics even for unclaimed records. It's just that the claimed records can come with a higher degree of certainty to us. And we can still keep refining the results here, so we can only keep the ones that are with peer reviews or with editorial records or claimed, or we can further refine them by subject area, affiliations, countries, etc. So there are a lot of what we can do. And after you work with some of the researcher profiles and you see these metrics, at some point you will be able to compare them according to their metrics one with another. Now, I would once again repeat that we would only encourage you to compare researchers within one subject area. So please don't compare a mathematician with a geneticist, and by taking a look at the geneticist's higher H index, conclude that the geneticist is better than the mathematician. No, this is not how it works. We can certainly conduct another webinar for UPNM specifically dedicated to citation metrics. But yeah, this is like for the first time, please feel free to get yourself familiarized with all these metrics and try to compare and memorize at least yours in the Web of Science core collection. And definitely, I would encourage you to log into Web of Science and create your own profiles. Now, about logging into Web of Science, as you can see, when I logged in, the system recognizes me as Pavel Kasyanov. Normally, when you're logging in for the first time, it's still going to, specifically if it happens from the university premises, it's still going to give you a chance to run searches, but you might miss certain personified services like claiming your profile or setting up search alerts. And that way, I would strongly encourage you, so instead of your name right here, you're going to see the register or sign up button. I would strongly encourage you to pass through the registration, and that way you will get access to all this services like claiming your profile and linking it to ORCID and setting up alerts. Speaking of alerts, I also haven't talked about that. So if I go back to the search history of our biocomposites, if I'm interested in being reminded of the biocomposites, the new articles that are being published there, I can click this create alert button. And I can give it a name, like let's say biocomposites. And each time, so each day, basically, there are new documents that are related to this topic. I'm going to receive an email alert showing me the new records and allow me to click into our sites and see them. If the topic that I selected is not as wide, so maybe not as popular, maybe it only has a few documents published every week or every month, I can still do that, and that way I'm just going to be receiving the alerts less frequently. One final thing that I wanted to show to you now, because we tried this Boolean search right here. I spoke a few words about this smart search that you already have or are going to receive in the next few weeks. There's also one thing that is not included into your subscription, but that is just where the general research public is going, and that's basically the GPT-like chat that allows us to summarize the research made in specific subject areas. So I can basically ask, it's called Web of Science Research Assistant. Once again, it's not included into your subscription, but we decided it's going to be a good idea to show it, just because that is the general trend of where these search systems are going. And I can ask it, like, summarize the research in biocomposites for me. Oops. Obviously, I made a typo here, but I hope it's going to understand that I meant for me, not or me. So what it's going to do is it's going to understand that query, it's going to translate it into a Boolean search for Web of Science. It's going to send this search. I will, obviously, I shouldn't be too quick to post this question like that. I'll just leave this for me. So just summarize the research in biocomposites. So once again, it's translating that search into a Boolean search query for Web of Science, extracting these documents, and using the GPT-like model to summarize the data, and then it provides me with the summary of what's going on there. So it tells me how these results were generated. So this is how it run this search. And now what it can tell me, what's going on in the biocomposites research. So there is research on mechanical and thermal properties of the biocomposites. There is research on sustainability and environmental impact. There is a research on fiber matrix interaction and processing technique. And finally, it provides me a conclusion. And as you can see, each of the bullet points that it provides is linked to an individual Web of Science article. So in case, as you know, all the GPT-like models, they can sometimes come with this AI hallucinations, and the closer your question is to the boundary of human knowledge, the higher the probability of those hallucinations are. So in case any of the ideas that it's communicating there just don't make sense, you always have a chance to verify that and to check whether or not this is what the paper was about. So you can do that. You can do a lot of other things, like, for example, create a topic map and understand the relations between different concepts within the topic of biocomposites. You can see the top authors for this topic, and that way the AI is actually picking the top authors according to the AT index and citation metrics and number of papers for them. And you can also do a lot of other things here. So we just added an agentic workflow of literature review there that can help you understand the gaps in the research and formulate potential hypotheses. But really, the idea is that the whole trend in the industry is that we're going from here, from searches like that, to here, and then to chatbots like ChatGPT, like that are just trained on the Web of Science data that can summarize specific topics for you. And by that, they can track the time that it takes you to get from your particular research question to get the necessary papers and necessary answers from weeks or months to just certain minutes or maybe hours. So that's where it's going. So once again, you still have access to this and this searches. And at this point, I'll probably just I'll pause my presentation, and let's just wrap up what we've discussed. So a few additional resources for training and learning that you that you might use. So first of all, we have a Web of Science learning page. So in case I might not be available 24/7 to you, this learning page is. So any questions that you have about Web of Science, how to search certain things, how does cited reference search work, or how to interpret specific bibliometric indicators, you can search for it there. And a lot of libraries in the world, they have their pages on LibGuides, and we as a company, we also do have it there, and a lot of helping and support resources we also have at LibGuides. So I'll encourage you to visit that page as well. I'm going to share with you these slides right after this presentation, and any questions that you will have, you will obviously be able to ask me in an email. But of course, I'm not saying goodbye just for the moment. I'm just trying to say that what we try to work with today is to run topical searches and find what's being written in your subject area, find who to work with, find the connections to the citation links between the documents. We've tried to work with the researcher profile, and I try to show you how to claim them and how to prove that you prove your track record. Yeah, we haven't been talking a lot about how to form the bibliography from Web of Science records, but in case that's interesting to you, I can also show that to you. Finally, this was a topic mostly for the researchers, but the university librarians, university research management, they also use a lot of Web of Science data to make basically to perform research evaluation. So to understand where we are in terms of research outputs and where we want to go. So use Web of Science as basically as a map and a compass to move in the world of research. So yeah. That's it. That's all I wanted to talk to you about today. But our meeting is not over yet. So in case there are any questions, I'd love to answer them. And I see that there are a number of questions. So Liana, if that's okay for you, I'm just going to read them.
Yes.
and
Sure.
comment.
If you want to proceed with the Q&A session right away, you can. You may do so. You may do so. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. So I see that there is a screenshot about mental health resilience. I guess that might be a topic that you wanted me to run a search on and share some insights that I can explain what I can find here. I'm going to do that in a second. Let me read the other questions as well. Morning, sir. Can you please explain why tools like Web of Science are still important for researchers in today's digital age when so many resources are freely available online? Yeah, thank you very much. That's a great question. So the resources which are available online, and I think the ones that normally people mention are things like Google Scholar, like OpenAlex, and even some AI-powered tools. So the reason Web of Science is still important was approximately these 15 minutes that I was boring you with the slides. We as a database, we already select the content from you. The majority of the services that are available online, they basically take the data from open sources and they give it to you. When we're talking about Web of Science, let me try to show you the percentage of them. I do have this in the appendix. This is approximately the share of the open access content in Web of Science. It is growing year on year. Excuse me. But as you can see, the largest part of the content in Web of Science is actually paywall. So a lot of journals that rank the highest in their subject areas are still subscription-based journals. So if you think about Nature, it's a subscription-based journal. New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, the two most important journals in medicine, subscription-based. So if you are working with any database that's just taking the data from the open sources, they're missing just so many of the paywall content that you're gonna miss really a lot of that. Open access and open science are really important trends in science. We give them that, but the subscription, the paywall content, as much as the researchers might not like it, it's still a substantial part of today's research outputs. And even if you take a look at the like recent Nobel Prize winners, I bet that the majority of the documents that they published that led to getting those Nobel Prize, they were also published in the paywall journals, the ones you have to buy subscription for to get access to. So yeah, you can still use free online tools to search, but I guess that's really like using Google versus any professional database for searching. So Google basically gives you everything, and it doesn't curate the content for you, so you don't know if you can trust this link or maybe it's a fraudulent link. But whatever you see in Web of Science has passed through this selection process, so you can be almost 100% sure, like 99.9% sure that whatever you find in Web of Science is reliable. That's the difference. Thank you very much for that question. There's the next question there. Is the research assistant designed to replace traditional searching or more to complement it? Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is more to complement it. So I've been using both for the recent year, and I can give you an example. So I had a question related to my own healthcare. Like I couldn't really sort out with the doctors. So they will all tell me that my condition is with me forever and there's nothing I can do about it. And I kept searching like what's going on with the research on this topic. And before the doctors who I'm visiting realized that, I actually found an article that like suggested the idea that my condition is also linked to a consumption of certain sports nutrition. I mean, if you start using it, that condition can theoretically go away. I started doing that. I'm not recommending it to anyone because there hasn't been like probably enough clinical trials on that. But I tried to do that and it worked. So that the way it saved me a lot of time. Now, I realized that I spent months on that with standard Web of Science searching. When I tried to run that search with the Web of Science Research Assistant, I found that article in just minutes. So that really helps finding the core concepts quicker. But yeah, just because sometimes it misses certain queries, sometimes it's not very responsible to really complex queries that you might want to feed it to. Sometimes you can just go back to the standard Boolean search and use that one. So I use both, but when I need speed, I probably use. So when I'm jumping into a new topic where I'm completely new, I don't have time to really study all the concepts there, I'm probably going to use the AI one. But if I'm doing research in my own subject area, specifically where I need to find like the seminal papers, I'm probably going to be using the Boolean search. But once again, if I want to give it a shot and ask the AI to formulate a hypothesis for me, it's not going to be the carved in stone one that I'm just going to copy paste in my scholarly paper, but it's going to give me some ideas on where I can move my further research. That's when I would definitely be using the AI bot. So yeah, thank you very much for the question. Does Web of Science cover only English publications, or there are papers in other languages too? Yeah, I've actually been showing this, but no worries. Let's try to search for it once again. So if we are, yeah, let's actually try once again to search for all the documents of UPNM. We can also go to the refine results panel here, and here we have the languages. So even for UPNM, we have the majority, of course, in English, but at least 15 documents are in Malay and even one in Indonesian. So on Web of Science as a whole, approximately 1/5 of all the documents that they are not in English. English is an international language of science, but we also index content in other languages as well. Thank you for the question. And the next one was why APA format for journals, reference, or citation is so important. How if we put it in wrong? Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm not very familiar with the APA format, but I think I know what you're talking about. So just because we touched this topic, and it's really important for a lot of you, let me show you what we can do with writing the Web of Science. So let's assume that we are running a search on a topic of, yeah, I remember about that psychological thing. We'll get back to that. But let's try once again run a search on biopolymer, biocomposites. So let's assume that I want to use this, and this article. I want to reference them in my document. So I can export them, and I can either add them to my EndNote desktop, but that's a paid software that some of you might have, some of you might not. You can also add it to RefWorks or other reference management software, but we can also add it to EndNote Online. So the cool thing is that every Web of Science subscriber, and that's why I would strongly encourage you to get your own access to Web of Science with login and password. You're actually also getting access to EndNote. So should actually, sorry, I haven't been resetting my password recently, but the important thing is that each Web of Science user, they also get access to EndNote online, and that way you can save all the records to your portfolio. You can select the links that you want to reference in your paper, and then you can just use the format of the bibliography that you want to do. So let's try. So we can select so many of them, like including the APA that you were mentioning. So we can try to use that one and just select. So yeah, I'll pick the one that I've been using for physics and the biographic style of APA. And let's select the file format. Let's make it HTML, for example. So let's preview. And it's going to generate for us the bibliography in the way that specific publisher is accepting it. So the way all of these standards are important is that the publishers. Oh, and I'm sorry. Am I not sharing my screen? I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm about to tell you about that.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me go through that step once again. So
okay.
what I did was we can any documents in the Web of Science. We can export them and save them to EndNote online. Okay, and right here on the upper right hand, we can see the list of the products that are available to you. And one of them is specifically that EndNote Reference Manager. So that's the online version of the desktop version. The desktop version is the paid one. If you don't want to pay for it, you can still try to use the free online version, which is once again being granted to every Web of Science subscriber. So if you click that one, you get into your EndNote portfolio, where I have already some of my references organized, some of my groups, etc. But if I want to form a bibliography, I can use the Format tab and the Bibliography one. And here I select so I had 4 physical references that I'm going to use. And I can select the APA6, for example, as a format. And let's save them into an HTML format. So let's preview and print. And this is the way in seconds, it generated for me the bibliography that's going to be accepted by any publisher that sticks to the APA6 format. Now, why is this important? Each publisher, specifically the more important, the prominent publishers, they follow very strictly the format of, so they ask you to format your manuscripts the way they need them. So it really helps them to speed up the evaluation and the peer review process. And specifically, they follow this format of the bibliographies, and each of them, I know it's terrible, but each of them they follow their own format. But as much as this is important to them, and this is like the industry standard, there's not a lot we can do with that. EndNote is actually giving you the tools to very quickly form that bibliography that can be accepted by a specific publisher. So now my paper is virtually ready to be submitted to an APA. If my paper didn't pass their peer review, I can also select a different style, so like JAMA, for example. And that way I've got exactly the same list of references, but now they're formulated in a different format. So it saves a lot of time and it saves a lot of nerves, just because when you have a paper with like 100 of references and it just got rejected in a prominent journal and you want to send it in another good journal, then you can just, in a few seconds, you can just change that online and it's ready. So as much as I understand, this is very disappointing when you get a rejection from a publisher and they say that you should have formulated the site references in a different way. That there is a cure to that, and it's EndNote Online. So and you already have access to it basically as a Web of Science user. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you very much for asking the question. Now, the last one that I promised to is the mental health resilience topic that one of the users has suggested. So let me just make sure I got the word resilience correct. Yeah. And that, and as a topic, we're going to try search for mental health resilience. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So how exactly is this going? So if we are searching for that, we've got 22,000 records. And once again, if we just sort them by relevance, the top ones are going to be really, really relevant, although even though that they are from Malaysian university students. But I would say that the last ones, they might not be super relevant, just because there is a word mental health, and somewhere in the end of the document there is the word resilience. So it's not a very relevant document, is it? So we can also, of course, we can try to search for the title, but that's going to give us just 1,300 records. It's not a lot, but as you can see, the top records, they're super relevant because those are exactly the names that we find in the titles. I actually wanted to show you something different. So And that's going to be about the Boolean search. So when we are trying to search for the two or more terms, they are being linked by the indexing backbone. They're being linked by the implicit AND operators. So what exactly that means? Yeah, I'm putting these AND operators in caps lock, but it's case insensitive. I'm just providing it for you to see that those are operators, not the search words, not the search terms. So that means that the system would try to find for us all the documents that have mental health and resilience in the same documents, and that's how we still get in this 22,000. Okay. You probably know that there are also OR operators, there are also not, etc. So those are really, really important ones. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to talk about those right now, but I'm pretty sure that you can always get to your library, and those your library employees are normally great professionals in understanding the Boolean operators. What else we can do? We can try to use the quotation marks, and that's going to search for us exactly the term we're looking for. So mental health resilience, all the three words going in specifically in this order. And that way, we're just going to end up with a 241 results. So I'm not sure if that is what you wanted to search for, because 241 is a finite number and it's super relevant, but maybe you were also wanted to search for something like mental health, and not just resilience, but maybe for the word resilience. Okay. And that way we can also account for that by removing the end of the word and replacing the end with an asterisk. So an asterisk is a wild card that allows you to search for the absence of the signs or for any number of any signs. So that would qualify for resilient, resilience. Maybe there are other words which I don't know by heart, but if we run that search, it even slightly increases. It gives us additional 2,000 records. But once again, just because some of them might be scattered across the abstract, it might not be the optimal one for us. So one final improvement for this search, which I can suggest, is another operator which is not Boolean. It's a proximity operator, and it's just the word near. So we can put near here and near there. And if we search for that one, it's going to show us all the records where these words stand no more than 10 words apart from each other. So that's the default setting. And that means they must be much more much more interlinked semantically than in this worst case scenario that I've been showing to you. So once again, the default value for the near operator is 10, but you can also specify this number of words that should be standing between them by adding a slash and a number. So like /5, for example. So if we do that, I would say that this is a much more relevant search than all the previous ones. And I can probably even do better by limiting this to 3. So I would say that this, to me, this is the perfect search. And if I would be conducting results on mental health resilience, I would probably stay with this one. Now, let me do some very brief exploratory data analysis here. So first of all, we can take a look at the most cited records. The most cited is network theory of mental disorders, and you can see other ones. So a lot of them were cited more than 1,000 times. We can go into the analyze results and see how important this topic is right now. So, and yes, you can see it's almost at the peak of its. We are in 2025. It hasn't finished yet. I'm pretty sure by the end of November already, it's going to be a personal record once again, even more than the incomplete 2022. What else we can see? We can see who are the top researchers who are working on this topic. And let's just, so Klaus Lieb, Kim Foster, who is Klaus Lieb? Let's take a look at that person. So that's a person from Johannes Gutenberg University of Mainz in Germany. We can see some other of their affiliations. We can see some other of their works. They're very productive because they have 372 documents in Web of Science in total, and 17 of them dedicated to the topic of mental health resilience. They're followed by Kim Foster, Linda Theron. So you can study all of these researchers, and because those are rock stars, you can try following them on ResearchGate, on social media, or maybe try to get in touch with them. Which organizations are most actively working this topic? It's the University of London, California System, Harvard, University of Toronto, etc. We can see which journals should we probably want to read in terms of to stay on top of this topic. It's Frontiers in Psychology, Frontiers in Psychiatry, International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, +1, by the way, etc. So there are a lot, and +1, by the way, it's, to the best of my knowledge, is an open access one, so you don't need to pay money to access its content. And obviously, we can see who funds the research in these topics. So it's the United States Departments of Health Human Services, United States NIH, some of their specific institutes, and let's just select more. UKRI, Natural Science Foundation of China, European Union, etc. And you can see all of them right here. So those are basically the candidates. If you are conducting research in this area and you want to apply for a foreign grant, those would probably be your top candidates for that. So yeah, that's at least the basic analysis that I can do for you. We can obviously tell more if we dig more with like open access, conference titles, book titles, editors, publishers, etc. But I would leave this for you as a home task. I hope that's exciting. I think the most exciting thing here is to see the top researchers, like the people with whom you might want to work, and the journals that you might want to read for that. I hope that was helpful. Alrighty, we are closing to the 2 hours since we started. And if there are any other questions, I'm still here for you to answer them. But if not, I appreciate that you get other stuff to do today. I definitely don't think you blocked the whole day for this event, so you have other stuff to do. But thank you very much for attending this class. It's been a pleasure for having you. I hope it's been exciting for you. I hope you learned something new. But if you still have any remaining questions, I'm still here to answer them. So thank you very much.
All right. So thank you again. Thank you once again, Mr. Pavel, for the very informative presentation, tutorial, and answering all the questions from our participants. I'm very sure our participants right now have a clearer picture and a deeper understanding on how to use Web of Science effectively. So since we might not have enough time, maybe we can arrange another meeting for another session with Mr. Pavel later. All right.
Sure,
So.
my pleasure.
Yes, great. So on behalf of the General Tun Ibrahim Library, I would like to express our heartfelt thanks to Mr. Pavel for sharing your valuable time and insights with us today. To all participants, thank you for your participation. And before we end this session, I'd like to invite everyone to switch on your cameras for a quick group photo. Can everyone switch on your cameras? Let's take a group photo just for a minute. Okay, I'll be waiting. Is there anyone else want to open your camera? Okay, while waiting, others open their camera. Maybe everyone can fill up the feedback form that been sharing in the chat column. Okay, if everyone is ready, okay, I'm going to take it right now. Okay, smile. Okay, wait. Okay, great. Now we have it. Okay, thank you, everyone. Once again, don't forget to fill up the feedback form. And if you are done with that, we conclude today's library webinar series 11. Take care, stay safe, and we hope to see you again in our next session. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Pavel.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Pavel.
Perkasa people.